Your buddy sucks, pal. Kit's sister? Weak sauce.
Now you're really one of the family.
Oof. Send that puppy back to the pound.
For my brothers.
Alright, well, I'm not going to talk smack on Kyle. But I will tell you that Wisp is the real MVP of best friends. And in today's video, I'll show you why she's the one frame everyone loves to see in their squad. This is Hardcore Endgame. Au quat Tanzin Wan, my people, and welcome to the Hardcore Endgame build guide for Wisp. Before I jump into the thick and meaty, let me ask you a question. Are you interested in build guides for weapons? I'm not talking about the meta arsenal everybody and their grandma uses, but stuff that's incredibly powerful and lots of fun, even though it may not be optimal. I'm making air quotes and rolling my eyes in exasperated annoyance when I say optimal, by the way. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd enjoy, or hit me up on the Twinker if that's more your style. Anyway, let's check out the build requirements. Her blueprint and all three components are drops from the Robo Lollipop boss fight on Jupiter, and you're guaranteed to get one of those 4 drops each time you complete it. We're also using an Orkin reactor and 5 total forma, one of which is an Umbra forma. I realize that might be too much of an investment into a non-prime frame for some of you, so I'll also show you an alternative build which doesn't need the Umbra. The Arcanes are helpful but not mandatory, and though I highly recommend swapping an ability in through Helminth, there are a bunch of great options, and I'll talk about them in a bit. So now let's talk about why everyone loves to see Wisp in their squad. I think it's safe to say that's mostly because of her reservoirs. Yeah. Tapping the ability cycles through 3 different types, and a long press drops the selected type on the ground, where Wisp and her allies can grab a moat, which provides a buff, just by passing through. The red one is a vitality moat, and it grants increased max HP while also providing a constant heal. That's right, Oberon, she stole your job with just one of her moats. Yeah, you should feel bad. Do better. The green one is a haste moat, and increases movement speed, melee attack speed, and weapon fire rate. It's great for
Oh god, I hope he's not watching me walk away.
All right.
He's watching.
What? The blue one. Yeah, there's a blue one. It's a shock moat, and it zaps nearby enemies with electricity. This causes a very small amount of damage, but the real utility is in the fact that it stuns enemies for 3 seconds. She can have 6 reservoirs active at once, and though the moats and their buffs expire, the reservoirs do not. This means you can place them in various combinations and at different locations, and teammates can refresh the timers whenever they need to. Some NPCs can even carry moats, like the Kavor defectors in defection missions. Drop a set of reservoirs near the life support module, and when they pass through, they'll get movement speed, healing, and CC for anything that gets close. All of that, max HP, healing, move speed, attack speed, fire rate, and AoE CC. It's just one ability, and she shares it with the whole squad. Now you understand why people love to have her around. And follow her. And
You stare at my ass again, I will push you off a cliff.
alright, you know what? I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Wisp has the finest waste management facility in the entire system. It's a super duper pooper that'll put you in a stupor. A tremendous, stupendous, rear-endous appendix. It's like someone at DE asked, hey, what happens if we move the caboose slider all the way up to 10? And then someone replied,
These go to 11.
but then someone else had already grabbed the controls and...
Got to 50!
Yeah, that's right. They humperdinked her hiney and created the Calipigian goddess we all know as Wisp. And don't think they're unaware that she's got a lot of derriere. Ever wonder why there's no Wisp Noggle? It's because DE knows we'd all have them facing the wall, just like we do with her Articulate. What, just me? Whatever. I'm glad that's all out in the open now. But I am feeling like I should have slapped a pagophilia warning on this video. So right now some poor bastard is having a full-on badunkadunk breakdown and can't even butt dial their sponsor. One day at a time, my friend. One day at a time. Wisp has other abilities, by the way. Her 2, Will-O-Wisp, has An unfortunate name, but some incredible utility. It sends a decoy sauntering across the map towards your reticle position, and enemies follow it because, well, yeah, we already explained why everyone follows Wisp. Pressing 2 again while it's active allows her to teleport to its location and become invulnerable for 3 seconds. It's like a built-in rolling guard without the cooldown. Breach Surge is her 3, and also the ability Helminth takes when you subsume Wisp. She casts an AoE blind around her, which also primes enemies. This causes them to release sparks of energy when they take damage, which seek out the heads of other nearby enemies. I've already gone into some detail about how it functions in my build guide for Hildryn, so click that link over there if you want more info. When using it as Wisp, though, you can cast it while targeting a reservoir. This causes you to teleport to the reservoir and then cast Breach Surge with double its normal range. You can also use Breach Surge while Will-O-Wisp is active to cast one at each location. Her 4 is Soulgate. It opens a portal to the sun, which Wisp then uses to scorch enemies with heat and radiation damage. Despite how amazing it sounds to channel the devastating power of a planet-sized ball of flaming gas, this is actually the ability we're going to replace via Helminth. I know, but listen, the sun just doesn't scale very well, and there are weapons that do way more damage and don't lock us into a channeled ability. As for what you'd want to use in its place, there are so many fantastic options. In high-level content, I like using Spellbind or Hideous Resistance, so I'm immune to CC. But we've also got enough power strength in this build to use Roar and more than double all of our damage. And Power is a decent option if you're trying to boost power strength even higher, but with diminishing returns, I find that it's overkill. There's also Aqua Blades if you enjoy sprinting through low-level missions like a runaway circular saw, Warcry for a melee-focused playstyle, Energized Munitions if you're really into gunplay, or Pillage if you want some AoE shield and armor strip, as well as personal shield restore and overshields. It's really up to you, so do whatever diddles your fiddle. Finally, let's look over the build so we can see what makes it all tick. It's mostly about power strength, but we also boost duration a bit, and we're careful not to tank our range. The strength is important because it increases the potency of the things Wisp already does well. It increases both the max HP boost and healing amount from the Vitality Moat. It boosts all 3 haste moat buffs as well: move speed, attack speed, and fire rate. It technically even boosts the damage of the shock moat, but it's so minor no one cares. Outside of the moats, power strength boosts both the damage multiplier and status chance associated with Breach Surge, and makes abilities like Roar and Warcry much more robust. We get all of this power strength from Power Drift, Transient Fortitude, Augur Secrets, Blind Rage, and an Umbral Intensify that's maxed and boosted by the other 2 Umbral set mods, Vitality and Fiber. Growing Power in the Aura slot also gives us another 25% power strength, but only for 6 seconds after applying a status effect with a weapon, which just happens to be enough time to cycle through and drop a stack of 3 moats. And if you're wondering, placing the reservoir while that buff is active means it will always hand out moats that provide buffs based on the boosted power strength. The duration we get from Prime Continuity is important because we want our moat buffs to last a while. Wisp has no form of significant damage reduction, so we rely on the armor from Umbral Fiber and resistance from Adaptation to work with the boosted HP and healing from our Vitality moats to keep us alive. Getting caught without that buff active makes things tricky, but the extra duration means we have almost 40 seconds to roam around before needing to hit a reservoir for a refill. As for how to adapt the build for those of you who don't have an Umbral Forma available, simply replace the Umbral Intensify and Umbral Fiber with their normal counterparts, and slot one of the Carapace mods in place of the Umbral Vitality. You'll miss out on some power strength and armor, but the build still bops. Hey, guess what? We're done with the build guide for Wisp, and I haven't even talked about her passive. Actually, I just saved it for the end of the video where DE employees are less likely to hear me talking about how broken OP it is and bring it up at the next nerf meeting. But here you go. She's invisible to enemies while jumping, and for about a second after landing. Yeah. You're like, Giga, what? Don't worry, I went full Doc Brown the first time I heard it too. The only thing worth mentioning in Loki's entire kit, Wisp gets whenever she jumps. It's so broken. Keep it between us though, okay?